Welcome back to Jedi Enclave. I'm Daniel.
I'm Chris.
And this is the Jedi Enclave Presents. Now, this is Podcasting Podcast, a weekly live podcast show where we talk about the news of the day of Star Wars and other fandoms and things that we enjoy. And today we're doing, there's actually some like a fair amount of Star Wars news.
Meaty Star Wars news.
We got to talk about, yes, girthy and long.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we got to talk about Gina Carano, which I don't.
Wait, why is that the girthy and long?
Exactly. Also, there was a breaking exclusive right before we came on.
Not our exclusive.
Yeah, not our
because we are not reporters.
Yes.
We don't report shit.
Yeah, but there's like big Star Wars news that broke right as we were like about to come down here. There's a Star Wars story time tonight.
Oh,
which
I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I'm excited about it because it's Star Wars story time, which is always fun. But it's a new comic that came out a couple days ago, which is also really cool. It has to do with
which
Mace
also
Windu.
means we're waiting until like next month to get the next one.
Yeah. I'll probably just do another one later. If you're joining us, like if you're watching the official podcast version of this coming out later, which is on our YouTube channel, you can shop around in the description for Timecodes if you want to jump straight to us talking about Gina Carano, which is probably why half the people will be there. Please do that. And a thank you to the Star Wars Hub and Star Veritas, specifically the guy that runs it, Connor, the love of our lives. He's a great dude. Thank you.
The butter on our biscuits.
Yes. He's British, so I think that's like
that's like layer 2 of that joke.
Yeah. Okay. Because it's like a cookie, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
In Britain, biscuits are cookies.
You guys are fucking weird. Be ashamed of yourselves. While you're here, make sure you like and subscribe, share the stream, and Discord is a place we are. The link is in the description. I think so. We're not doing Gungans and Dragons tomorrow. Is the Super Bowl tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay. I have no fucking clue. I will be during our normal Gungans and Dragons time. I will be in our voice channel with a poker game.
Oh, okay.
And if there's room and you're just kind of coming through, you can sit down and
come on down and play poker. It'll be fun.
And we'll talk about it. It doesn't have to be Star Wars. We talk about anything. So that'll be tomorrow. Today, right after this at 7, we ordinarily play Battlefront 2 with the guys from Gremlin Squad. Not today. We're doing
Lego Star Wars.
Skywalker Saga, the couch co-op thing, which actually last time was a blast. So
tune in and keep track of how many times I kill Daniel and Daniel kills me.
Yeah, which I forgot that was a thing you could actually do.
Yeah,
because I did that a lot when I was playing it solo, where like, because you still play with like another like, you know,
a bot.
Yeah, like another character.
It's like, fuck you, R2. I'm gonna smack you with my lightsaber a few times.
Because they'll just like walk right in front of you while you're shooting, and you're like, well, that's what you fucking get, IG-88 or whatever. Yeah. So let's get into some Star Wars news. First,
do I start with some cool stuff or some less cool stuff?
Just go down the list.
Okay.
So Andor season 2 has officially wrapped. We learned this from Diego Luna, who announced on his social media they're done with season 2. They've wrapped filming, and he kind of talked about his, he's a classy guy.
It's great.
Yeah, he's a classy.
I'm so proud of everyone. Blah blah blah.
The crew is
fantastic.
Great. Yeah.
Can't wait till you see it. Blah blah blah.
Guess how many people contributed to the production?
It's a couple hundred, right?
700 people, which is fucking.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Tony Gilroy and his team. They were talking about how like they made the series stand out by using real locations, and not like the volume or CGI, which is a thing that stood out about Andor season 1. I think it's one of the reasons it's so fun to watch. It's kind of a breath of fresh air because some of the other Disney Plus stuff I haven't necessarily hated, but some of it's like, oh, you're in like a 20 by 20 foot room with a bunch of like LCD screens everywhere.
The volume is an incredible technical achievement, but it's a tool that should it's a tool for a very specific.
It's not for everything.
It shouldn't it's not a one size fits all application.
Yeah, you're right. And so yeah, that's he gave a pretty good shout out about the impact on his career and everything. It's like, hey, it's a big fucking deal, like Narcos, which is another thing he was in. I hope that, so like Andor, I think, was a slow burn to get fans on board, because even we were like, who are Star Wars optimists.
Yeah, we were like, oh, I don't really care. Like there was that. How many years ago when Kathleen Kennedy came out and said there's like 20 different Star Wars things happening. Yeah. Here's all of them. Yeah. And like Andor was at the very bottom of our list.
Yeah. In terms of like, what the fuck do we care about Andor?
He fucking dies in Rogue One. Yeah. Who cares?
Yeah, we know how his story ends. Yeah. And it turns out that it's my favorite Disney Plus show. Yeah. Like as far as Star Wars goes, it might be my favorite Disney Plus show, period.
It's certainly up there.
Yeah. So that's like, it's what I'm hoping is that season 2, like, since everyone knows how, the people who watched it, I haven't seen any like great criticisms about it. Like you got the Star Wars theory and oh my god,
it's so woke, blah blah blah,
or the bricks and screws and all that other bullshit. It's a good show. I'm hoping season 2 lives up to the first season.
I am unreasonably excited about it, and I'm kind of bummed that I have to wait a year or more to actually see it.
You think K2SO will be in this season?
God, I hope so.
They kind of have to, I think, because
they have to introduce him at some point.
Yeah, I remember when they announced it, I was like, I don't care about this, and then they're like, oh yeah, K2SO isn't going to be in this show, and I was like,
I really don't care about this.
Why the fuck do I'm not going to watch this. Yeah.
And then surprise, turns out it was really fucking good.
I think they have to put him in there. And like I assume
because like he and Andor are buddies before Rogue One starts.
Yeah,
so they kind of have to,
right? Stellan Skarsgård is going to continue his Luthen thing,
and he's said very nice things about the script as well.
You think we'll see some more Saw Gerrera? Probably. Forrest Whitaker. He's like, whatever, I'll do it. And maybe
definitely gonna see more Mon Mothma compromising everything she holds dear.
Probably just like in season 1, where like every scene she's in is just a fucking banger. Like she's so good. And I wonder if maybe we'll see some Ben Mendelsohn, director Krennic, in there somewhere, because he was missed. There's the whole Imperial apparatus that we get a really good look at, because of course we're going to know more about Deidre and Cyril, and they're obviously going to fuck.
They're obviously
right. Yeah. It would be nice to see director Krennic somewhere in there, just as like this guy's floating around.
I hope at some point Cyril gives his awful mother the finger, whether that's physically or metaphorically.
Yeah.
Because holy shit.
Yeah. Let's read some chats real quick. Nate says, "Sup guys?"
Hello.
Chris, Jedi Enclave, Bad Batch?
Agreed.
That is a question.
Yes.
I don't know what it means. Chris says, "May the force be with you, Daniel." Chris, I hope you're having a good night. I don't know. Chris is here. It always kind of diminishes my capacity to enjoy myself. I have to wear pants when you're here. Is mostly what I mean.
This is okay, fair.
Do you think the problem with Star Wars fans with new projects, they want the content, but they want everything to stay the same and not try anything new with Star Wars?
Definitely the second one.
Yeah, I think that's definitely we talked about this the other night on
ever since Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars fans have been complaining it's new, so it sucks.
Yeah, it's like when the
specifically about Empire Strikes Back, which is fucking insane because that is objectively the best Star Wars movie.
Yeah, we're talking about the other night how the sequel trilogy starts with The Force Awakens, which
it is essentially a shot-for-shot recreation of A New Hope.
We, the Star Wars optimists, even admit that it's a rehash of A New Hope.
It's still pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's not terribly original.
Yeah, and so the criticism was, hey, like, make a big swing at something that isn't, that's kind of different. And so we had Last Jedi, which was
fucking incredible.
Yeah, and a big swing. Yeah.
And people hated it.
And they were like,
a certain segment was just like,
no.
What the fuck is this?
No. I want Rey to be Obi-Wan's daughter.
So then they have a massive course correction.
And if we don't have her as Obi-Wan's daughter, I'm quitting. And they're like, what if she's Palpatine's granddaughter?
This is acceptable.
That'll do.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. Casey says, wow, the actual show, lucky me. Oh, do you usually watch it? Probably later. Welcome. Glad you're here. I hate that Star Wars doesn't take risks, but at the same time, make a live action Clone Wars. That'd be actually live action Clone Wars would be pretty cool. I'm not excited for Andor season 2 because I have immense trust that when it comes out, I will enjoy it on a compatible level to season 1, which is a lot. No use getting hyped. Just enjoy life in the meantime.
Okay, that's fair.
I can't. That's the thing, is I can't help myself. I'm just like, I want it right now. And then Casey says Mon's family is, that's the whole thing with her and her husband, because she's going to have him killed.
I can see it.
No, this is how this is going to end, is that she's going to find out that he gave information to the Empire.
He knows something.
And she's going to hold a pillow over his face and bam, right in the face. And that's why we don't see Mr. fucking Mon Mothma in any of the Star Wars movies.
I mean, I would assume she does something a little bit more deniable than that. Like, she goes to Luthen and says, "Look, yeah, you got to kill my husband."
Luthen does. He puts the pillow on.
Fucking gotcha.
Her husband wakes up and rolls over, and Luthen's laying there looking at it and puts the pillow on his face.
If you're an artist, like an animator, please draw that.
Also, Star Wars
make me so happy.
Disney, we can write your Star Wars shows.
We shouldn't, but we could.
I almost forgot about that whole dynamic there. All right, what's next?
All right, Bad Batch.
Luthen in bed with. All right. Okay.
All right. So,
okay. Go.
Let's recenter.
Yeah.
Bad Batch is a thing that's happening soon. Season 3 specifically.
Real soon.
Yeah.
Like in a couple weeks.
And there's a clip for it out where Omega, who's been captured by the Imperials, goes down to prison to visit Crosshair, who's also imprisoned by the Imperials. And Omega's like, "Hey, come on, Crosshair, let's fucking break out of here. Let's go do hero shit." And Crosshair's like, "Fuck you. The Empire always wins. I'm just gonna lay here and be miserable."
Yeah.
And Omega's like, What the fuck, man? There's other clones here. I can talk to them. We'll have friends. We'll bust out." And Crosshair's like, "Blah blah. I'm cynical. You trust too easily." And like there's a shot of Crosshair's hands kind of shaking, and like they both notice this, and that's more or less where it ends.
Yeah,
but like it's like
a PTSD thing.
Yeah.
As I think I've been saying this ever since the Crosshair thing happened. They're going to redeem him.
Absolutely.
It's interesting to know kind of how they're going to do that. I think that what ends up happening is that I think early in the season they're going to spring a rescue attempt, and they're not going to be able to get Omega, but they're going to be able to get Crosshair. And whether that's because Omega kind of sacrifices herself to make sure they can get out, like she creates a distraction or whatever, but she's going to end up staying there, I think. So it's that time of year in the fiscal year where we do quarterly earnings calls. Bob Iger did his for Disney. Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney. And he confirmed a release date for The Mandalorian and Grogu, which is not a release date, more like a release window.
He confirmed a window, which, because of what we know about Disney's release schedule, we know the date.
Yeah. So it looks like where was the release window? 2026. Yeah.
And we know there's a Star Wars movie scheduled for like May of that year.
Yeah.
So,
and it looks they're doing production 2024, like this year. I don't think that we know exactly when everything's gonna I don't know if when they're gonna start principal photography and stuff. And I know that there are things about Pedro Pascal and whether or not he's
super busy.
Yeah.
He's got Last of Us season 2 going on.
He's also apparently Reed Richards.
Yep.
In the MCU, which is really interesting to me because that wouldn't be my this is completely unrelated, but and I don't hate it. It's kind of like when they cast him as Joel in The Last of Us.
So one of my absolute favorite things about the MCU is that they're not afraid to go out for certain characters, at least. They're not afraid to go outside the mold of what you would expect that character to look like or be. So Pedro Pascal is a fantastic actor.
Yeah.
Maybe didn't fit the mold of what you would expect Joel in The Last of Us to look like, but he makes it work.
Yeah, I also get what they're thinking because John and I are now rewatching. We just watched the first episode last night because we hadn't seen it since it came out, and he's a dude from Texas.
Yeah,
and Pedro Pascal could be a vaguely Hispanic man from Texas, and so I was like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I get that he doesn't look like Joel in the game, and I know I've seen fan castings of the guy that plays Jaime Lannister in Game of Thrones, who looks a whole bunch like Joel, actually, if you put some facial hair on him. But he's like the whitest dude ever, right? Which is like wouldn't necessarily be bad, but if you're going for that, Joel's from Texas, and there's a whole culture there that isn't just white dudes, right? So like I appreciate it. Also, he's amazing. Like he's a really good actor. So like that's great. Him as Reed Richards is interesting because I've had the John Krasinski thing in my head, just like every other, person that's, because it makes so much sense. And then they made it happen in
Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah. Whereas it's like, oh, that makes sense. That's cool. But by the way, this is also entirely unrelated. First of all, that tomorrow, I guess, there are going to be some new movie trailers during the Super Bowl, right?
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Deadpool 3 is supposed to be on there. Wicked Part 1, which unrelated to any nerdom whatsoever.
Wait, they're making a movie out of Wicked, like the musical Wicked?
And I'm surprised it took him this long because
that show's really good.
Yeah, it is. But also they're doing A Quiet Place Day 1, which, have you seen A Quiet Place?
It's the horror movie where you can't make any sound because the monsters will get you.
Yes. I think written and directed by John Krasinski.
Huh. Interesting connection.
Yeah.
We're all like Pepe Sylvia right now, connecting things on our corkboard.
That second movie I was so excited for, and we had tickets to see it. And that's when everything shut down. Like the day before we were supposed to go was when everything shut down because of COVID.
God.
And I had to wait an entire year because I love that movie. Like both of those movies are great. So I'm excited they're doing like a prequel thing. So
where are we going with all this?
John Krasinski.
Okay.
Pedro Pascal, Reed Richards.
Yes.
None of that had to do with what this was.
Star Wars, but
Mandalorian Grogu coming in 2026.
Yes, May 2026.
Yeah. So Acolyte, there's a big exclusive from Collider just a couple of hours ago about Star Wars Acolyte, which is that we're going to get it this summer.
Oh.
Which
that's really quick.
Yeah. Set to release on Disney Plus in the summer of 2024. Yes, I didn't think we were going to get this until like late this year, like December.
Yeah.
That's
if it's like
fucking
4
rad.
or 5 months away.
Right. 50 years. So this is the show that takes 50 years. It takes place 50 years before the events of The Phantom Menace, and apparently explores sinister crimes in an ever-changing galaxy. And so the Acolyte, this is a part of the exclusive. The Acolyte follows a former Jedi Padawan and her one-time master as they investigate sinister crimes, challenging the fallibility of the Jedi Order, which is cool. If they're doing 50 years, that's sooner than I thought.
Yeah.
I thought it was a couple of 100 years.
So my first question here is, do you think we're going to see any of the prequel era Jedi in this show?
I almost certainly we will see Yoda.
I think that's a pretty
some of the alien ones.
Yeah.
This is a little too far back to see Mace Windu, I think.
Yeah. Ki-Adi-Mundi, maybe?
Sure, depends. I don't know how long
his name, the Keldor guy.
Plo Koon. Yeah. Or any of those alien guys that are on the council.
Yeah.
Could, because they could all live 200 or 300 years or whatever.
Yaddle would be a fun choice.
Yeah. You know who I'm almost positive we're going to see?
Who's that?
Darth Plagueis.
Ooh.
And I think it's going to be fucking rad. So, they have we've been talking about the cast quite a bit. There's nothing new there. There's fucking what's her name from The Matrix? Carrie-Anne Moss.
Yes,
isn't it? The guy from The Good Place. The guy from Squid Games is in it. Like a bunch of guys from all over the place. So it's cool. And I think it's like I would start reading up on your High Republic stuff because I'm sure stuff will connect to that. Yeah. I'm really surprised that this is only 50 years before Phantom Menace. That's
not very far away. It also raises interesting questions because in the Phantom Menace, they say the Sith have been extinct for
over a millennia.
Yes. Which means they have to, if the Jedi come to be aware of these dark side people, they have to believe they are not Sith.
Right. Yeah.
Which maybe they actually aren't Sith, or maybe it's just the Sith covering their tracks really, really well.
Yeah. So if you were into the James Luceno Plagueis book and everything, Plagueis was out in the open as like a statesman, like a business dude. No one knew what he was. Yeah, but he was. He was
probably where Sidious got the idea.
Yeah, people knew who he was, and he wasn't hiding or anything. He just hiding that part of him. So I totally think we're going to see him in it. I think 50 years is definitely too long for Palpatine to be around. So this could be Plagueis with another apprentice, or it could be if they're gonna take stuff from Legends, it could be Cenobris with Plagueis as an apprentice.
Okay.
Which would be really neat too. He's the Bith Sith guy before Bith Sith. Yeah. Before Plagueis. Yeah. It was his master. So the dudes that played the Jizz.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Which I didn't think. Yeah, I didn't think YouTube's going to be like, that's a bad word.
Demonetized.
Yes. I never thought that species is like capable of having Sith, but and they might just throw all of that out. It'd be a little unwise because I think people really like that book. It was like the first. It's the most information we've had in canon up to that point about Palpatine and Plagueis and stuff. So. All right, what's next?
Let's talk about Donald Glover.
Yes.
So he was probably the best part of Solo: A Star Wars Story, playing Lando, a young, svelte Lando.
Yeah. Probably my favorite part of that movie.
Yeah. He's still officially on the hook for a Lando movie, which he is co-writing with his brother. Talked to The Hollywood Reporter about another show he was doing for Amazon Prime, I guess. And of course, the topics turn to Star Wars, because when anyone is even peripherally involved in Star Wars and the media shows up, they're going to ask about Star Wars.
That's what the questions are.
So he started out by talking about how, he's in a position in his career where he can say no to things and like he is able to go on. He said, however, that he said yes to doing Lando because, quote, I like the character and my kids love Star Wars, unquote.
What a great reason.
Yeah. Fucking, do you remember the Street Fighter movie from back in the 90s?
Yeah.
Yeah. Raul Julia, who plays Bison in that movie, he only took that role because his kids love Street Fighter.
Wow.
And it turned out being the last role because he died like immediately after.
That's crazy. I haven't seen that movie. So, Tommy Lee Jones did Batman because his grandson, because Tommy Lee Jones played Two-Face in Batman Forever.
Oh, okay.
That's when Batman started getting real weird. And he only did it because I think it was his son or grandson was like really into Batman, and that's why I want to do it.
Donald Glover went on to talk about how like without talking about anything his movie is actually going to be about, he's talking about how like how with TikTok and various other, like anybody can make anything nowadays, basically. And so he's really concentrating on trying to make something, the word he uses is singular. So he wants to like make something that he feels like no one else could make.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting direction to go. Yeah, I think
the other thing I got from that as well is his confidence about it being made. Like it sounds like this thing is actually happening, which is like out of all the things, this is the one at the beginning I thought that they would be like, oh yeah, we're not actually doing that.
Yeah, which would be a shame because he plays a hell of a Lando.
Yeah, so it makes you wonder, like, is Alden Ehrenreich still their pick for younger Han Solo?
I hope so.
Which I'd be fine with. And
like Alden Ehrenreich did a damn good Han Solo impression.
So, and I don't know when this story happens. Like, it could be like after Solo Star Wars Story. I imagine it would be.
Yeah.
And how much I don't know if they deal with each other a whole bunch after.
It could be the story of how he wound up with Cloud City.
Yeah, that'd be really neat. Yeah.
See some wheeling and dealing and.
Yeah. Let's talk about some quick video game stuff.
Okay.
So Ubisoft CEO Guillemot.
May he burn in hell for all eternity.
Yeah, but really, it's fucking terrible. was talking about release windows. Like the one thing everyone's excited about that has nothing to do with Star Wars is the new Assassin's Creed game. Which,
by the way, this was another earnings call because it's the season for earnings calls.
Yeah. It's that time of year. So they're calling it Codename Red. And that's going to be before the end of March 2025. It's set in feudal Japan, I guess. This isn't Star Wars, obviously. And I was like, I think I played the first Assassin's Creed game, and I was like, this is kind of boring.
The first one really sucks. Yeah. The next three are like absolute bangers.
Yeah, that's what I heard literally from everyone. I just haven't played them yet. Yeah. But the thing that they talked about was Star Wars Outlaws, which they confirmed a 2024 release.
I think we talked about this a week or two ago.
Yeah, well, did he say it's launching before he said before the end of 2024. Mm-hmm. Last week the rumor was that it was happening on May the 4th, which is very soon, actually.
Yeah.
And if that is true, we're going to start seeing ad material for it.
Yes.
Like, certainly. Like really soon. They have to put out something else, like another trailer or something else for it. So, or some kind of like gameplay feature or something. So, it's nice to know that we know it'll come in 2024. If it's ready by May the 4th, fucking great.
Yeah.
If it's not, hopefully
please delay. Like, if it's not ready to release in a fully finished and fantastically playable state, please delay it.
Yeah.
I know you're not listening to me, Ubisoft.
Yeah.
But I'm going to keep saying this very earnestly. Please delay it.
Yeah. Just like we just like we're available to write Star Wars stories for Disney, Ubisoft, if you need
we're here to do production on your video games.
Yeah, we can consult.
Yes.
It will cost you money. And you have plenty of it.
Yes.
We'll talk about this Empire Magazine thing real quick that got everyone in a frenzy.
So a couple days ago, Empire Magazine put out this vaguely ominous image on social media that was just a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away font with the words "Hello there" on a star field, and everyone was freaking out like, "Oh my God, they're announcing Obi-Wan season 2." Yeah. Actually, it's just a celebration of 25 years since Phantom Menace.
Right. Okay. Look. So it's like, this is Empire Magazine's fault, and it's not their fault. Okay. It's their fault in that they knew that a cryptic post was going to get Star Wars fans freaking out.
The less information,
that's why they did it.
The less definitive information you give people, the more room there is for speculation, which is a very good rule for writing fiction, but is also can be used for evil in things like this.
Yeah, where everyone. So the thing that's not their fault is that Star Wars fans are incapable, and I'm saying this as for myself as well, are incapable of managing their expectations. And I actually did a really good job of managing my expectations here, because everyone's like, Obi-Wan season 2,
obviously,
and it's like,
what else could it be?
Do you think that they would announce that through Empire Magazine?
Probably
Which
not.
They've never once announced a show through them or anything. Like, you don't think that they would use their own apparatus to announce a show,
or at least
that
the
huge?
Super Bowl? I mean, come on,
right? So, like, I knew it was nothing like that, and I kind of figured they're probably doing like a spread with Ewan McGregor or something. Like some big thing. The art is cool.
Yeah.
I know they're doing a 25-year re-release in theaters for Phantom Menace.
Yep.
The movie poster is fucking rad. It looks really cool.
Probably not going to see it in theaters because that movie is kind of mediocre.
I've seen it twice in theaters. I saw it when it released in 1999, and I saw it when they re-released it in 3D a few years ago. And I'm done seeing episode 1 in theaters. I don't need to see it 3 times on 3 different occasions.
You don't need that much Jar Jar in your life.
So I'm gonna read some chats before we get to this last thing, because I don't
just want to put it off.
I don't want to. Why we have to talk? It's hey, Wenton says that 50 years it could be leading to the birth of Palpatine. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Can't believe we're getting Acolyte in June, July or so. The Plagueis book is gangsta.
Could be August. That is still technically
summer. Yeah.
Summer, I believe.
Yeah. I adored Donald Glover's portrayal as Lando.
Yeah.
Just distilled classic Billy D. Williams. I think Billy D. Williams was really stoked about his performance as well.
Yeah,
so.
like it's been years, so I'm trying to remember, but I'm pretty sure Donald Glover like actually sat down and talked with Billy D. Williams a whole bunch about the character and the mannerisms and stuff.
Kenneth says Acolyte trailer during Super Bowl. Hello there, guys. Hello there.
Hello there.
That would be cool.
Yeah. I'm for it.
People would lose their shit, I think. And if it's coming in the summer, it makes sense that they would have something, because there's that teaser that they showed at Star Wars Celebration. That only people there got to
which
see.
Still has not been released in any official form.
Yeah,
and like
there's the one guy with a cell phone that was like hiding it like in his shirt and
somehow didn't get the phone confiscated and smashed by Disney's ninjas.
Like they had counter snipers, I think, like looking for phones and like if they see a phone, they just take the guy out. So like an official teaser for everyone would be really cool. Kenneth also says, if only some high up at Lucasfilm had kids who really, really, really wanted a Darth Maul TV show. That would be pretty neat, actually. There's a really good Legends book called Darth Maul Shadowhunter, which takes place just a couple of days before the events of Star Wars Episode 1, and it is really cool. Like, there's a whole group of... There are 2 Jedi who discover the Sith plot before a couple of days before, and it's about them trying to get away from Darth Maul so they can go tell everyone. And it is really cool. I remember reading that when I was in like junior high. Thought it was cool. Okay, all
right, let's get to the thing we have to talk about, even though we don't really want to talk about it.
This is relevant. It's kind of it's a big thing in the news right now. We have to talk about it. You might remember that a while ago, Gina Carano, who played Cara Dune in Mandalorian,
tweeted just the worst shit you can imagine, and kept doing it even after Disney was like, maybe hold back on the transphobia a little bit.
It wasn't there was a bunch of stuff that there was some transphobic stuff. There was some anti-masking because like COVID stuff, and the thing that really broke the camel's back was her saying that being a Republican nowadays was equivalent to being a Jew in the Holocaust, which is insane. It's insane to think that those two things are equivalent. And so she was fired for it.
Yes.
Right. And look,
and like we said at the time, this was nothing to do with Disney's like moral feelings, because Disney has no morals. Disney has no ethics. It is a corporation. It judged that keeping Gina Carano would cost them more money than she would earn for them.
Yeah, because there was a backlash on Twitter and like there was a hashtag and everything, and I think they were afraid of it affecting their bottom line. And here's the thing: if you want to make an argument about how she shouldn't have been fired for it, I might even agree, because I liked her a lot in The Mandalorian.
Fantastic actor.
I thought she did a really good job. And I'm on the fence even still about whether or not something like this should cost. Whether or not she should have been fired is a thing I haven't really decided where I'm at on it. I'm not immediately like, oh, I absolutely would have fired her, because it's a weird thing.
The one thing that we have to make perfectly clear is that this is not a First Amendment issue, because the First Amendment only applies to the government. If Gina Carano was a federal employee and got fired for her awful tweets, that would be a First Amendment issue.
Or if she was
jailed.
Is not. Or if she was jailed for what she said, that would be
like, this is an employee saying some awful shit that a company doesn't want to reflect on them, so they sever the tie.
So it turns out, I really thought that stuff was put to bed, because she was going to go and work with Ben Shapiro, and they were going to put out some shitty movies. And I was like, great,
fucking great, match made in heaven.
You can
fuck off.
You can still bitch about being deplatformed and being silenced, even though you're still putting out movies, shitty movies. But that's fine. Like, that's, if there's a market for it, if people want to watch that shit, then that's fine.
So that was the situation. Like, Gina Carano had been fired for her awful tweets. She was unhappy about it. Everyone else had moved on.
So it turns out she's suing Disney for wrongful termination.
And the best part of all this, it's being financed by Elon Musk.
That wasn't in the original announcement, I don't think. I think that she was like, oh, I'm suing Disney. And then Elon Musk is like, oh, I need to get my face into this because he can't help himself.
Yes.
And so he was like, oh, I'll pay for it. And I don't know if like Gina was like, okay.
I mean, better than me. Like, if someone else wants to pay my, like, do you know how much lawyers cost?
Yeah.
If someone else wants to pay my legal fees, fucking go for it.
You would think that he was wasting enough money at Twitter to be paying for other people.
Think.
Yeah. So anyway, so Elon Musk wanted to get his dick in it and everything, and I'm not a lawyer. First of all, like, that's the most important thing. I'm not really sure what's going to happen here, whether or not they'll settle. I know that in the complaint, she requested a jury trial.
She wanted a jury trial. She wanted to be reinstated in her position at Disney,
which that I don't think they can.
I don't think she's getting that.
Yeah, I don't.
Like, even if by some marvel she gets a jury trial and the jury rules in favor of her, she's not getting her job back.
Yeah, I don't think that's even. Yeah, that's kind of out there. So, and I saw that in the complaint. This is the thing that really pisses me off about it. She mentioned a couple of tweets that Mark Hamill and Pedro Pascal had made comparing Donald Trump to Hitler.
Here's the thing about that.
Well, hold on. Let me finish. Let me finish my thought about this. First of all, it's a logical fallacy. It's a whataboutism fallacy. Yeah. Even if I agreed that what they said was wrong, it doesn't mean that what she did wasn't wrong, right? That, like, they could have both been wrong.
Yes.
So it's irrelevant what Mark Hamill and what Pedro Pascal did, even if the issue was whether or not Disney fired them. The other thing is that it is not the same kind of claim. There is a. I know I'm going to say this. There are going to be people who their minds aren't going to be changed. They're already writing a comment on the video about this. And there's nothing I can do. Like, you didn't reason yourself into the position. I'm not going to be able to reason you out of it. And I don't mean to sound condescending or rude, but you're too far gone to reason with. And I'm sorry. I know that sounds a little elitist and a little shitty, but it is just a fact. There is a good argument to be made about Donald Trump's aspirations to be an authoritarian dictator through the things that he's said and the things that he's done. Okay. If you want to have that argument, let's have that argument. The argument we are not going to have, because it's absolutely ludicrous, is that being either a Republican or a Democrat in today's culture is akin to being a Jew in the Holocaust. It's fucking obscene that you would even suggest that. Remind everyone, they rounded Jews up and they murdered them. They put them in gas chambers. They made them work until they died.
In the beginning, they just shot them.
Yeah. You, as a Republican, are not in danger of that. Nowhere fucking close. And to suggest that is a slap in the face and an absolute the disrespect to people who survived that awful, awful thing, just so you could get some cheap political points on social media. Being a Republican is not like being a Jew in the Holocaust. And if you think that those things are similar, you're fucking delusional and you're a terrible fucking person for believing that.
So you were trying to be all, like, logical and delicate and couching all this. I'm going to be a little bit more blunt.
Do it.
Pedro Pascal and Mark Hamill called a Nazi. Gina Carano tweeted terrible things about some of the most vulnerable members of our society, and then said that she was the Jew in the Holocaust. Yeah. If you can't see how those two things are radically different, then yes, you are too far gone to reason with. Yeah. And there's a big chunk of society that it doesn't matter what I say or what I present. It won't change anyone's minds, and they'll be screaming woke or whatever the fuck, and that's fine. I'm not here to change those people's minds. If there are any reasonable people out there that haven't made up their mind about this or are curious about the issue, that's who I'm talking to. So if you're running to the comment section right now in this video, that's fine. I'm probably not going to see it anyway. We have a mod that deletes the discussing shit anyway. So that's fine. But it's absolutely obscene what she tweeted. And also the whole lawsuit seems a little
Ben Shapiro thing didn't work out very well, and like now I need some money.
So here's my thought about this. I'm not a lawyer. I have no legal training. I'm just speaking, like, calling it as I see it. There is no way Gina Carano is getting anything that she is asking for out of this lawsuit. And if she is extremely lucky, if she and Elon Musk are extremely lucky, this will not go to trial, because then they would have to pay Disney's legal fees.
Yeah. Also, do you really think that Disney doesn't have an army of lawyers?
Yeah. Like, I don't know who Elon Musk can hire, but it will not be better than Disney's lawyers.
And that isn't to say that, that Disney is like, that they're even the good guys in this situation.
There are no good guys.
Yeah, there are really no good guys.
There's no one to root for.
Yeah.
You can root against people. That's great. Just there's no one to root for in this case.
I saw a great meme that was the Rise of Skywalker thing that was like, I don't need Disney to win. I just need Elon Musk to lose. All right. Casey says, like most people who cry free speech, it's actually about kicking up a storm to escape consequences for speech and actions already freely taken. Yes.
It's more like my free speech must be protected, but yours must be suppressed.
Right. Yeah.
Essentially.
And that's the thing, is that like no one's stopping her from saying the things that she's saying. She's still freely able to say it anywhere she wants.
Freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequences.
Yeah. And Disney can, they can employ whoever the fuck, as long as they're not firing you for being a protected class.
Yeah.
Like they can do it. Also, there's another complexity thing, and I don't know how true this part is, but I was reading a little bit about how there's a good possibility that she wasn't even fired, that it was your contract is up and we're not renewing the contract. Which, if that's true, the entire thing is baseless.
Yeah, like if that's true, then it's going to come out in court, because Disney is going to be like, we have these papers showing that her contract was up and we just chose not to renew it. And the judge will take one look at that and tell Gina Carano to get the fuck out.
Yeah. I think there's a possibility that the entire thing is kind of a bluff to get a settlement. And I would love to see Disney be like, let's go. Let's fight about it. And if that's true, there's no way that Gina Carano wants to go into discovery, because all that shit comes out. And we already know that whole culture is about the grift. Mm-hmm. And it's like the grift is up. Like people will be able to see it.
It's about the grift and looking like the victim.
Yeah. So, there we talked about it. I want to be done with it because I don't like talking about stuff like this, because I know how people get and everything.
Let's talk about Mace Windu.
Yes. Actually, more specifically, it's our favorite, my favorite segment. I don't know what your favorite. We only have 2 segments.
It's probably my favorite.
Okay,
segment.
Well, here it is, Star Wars Storytime.
Woo!
Yeah. And so if you're wondering, hey, what the fuck is a Star Wars Storytime? And the answer is there's a lot of Star Wars that aren't just the films. There are novels, and there are comic books and all this other shit, and I consume a lot of it because I like it a lot, and you like it a lot too, but you're an adult.
I ain't got time for that shit,
and you don't have time. A lot of people don't have time. So I'm going to tell you about what happens in whatever whatever I'm reading that week
in our typical irreverent, profanity filled form,
which, by the way, is not on purpose. It's just how we talk.
It actually is how we talk.
So this week is Mace Windu #1, which is a brand new release, which I was really excited about.
Brand new series, never been done before.
I was excited to know that they were focusing on Mace Windu as a solo character in the comics.
I'm excited for this because it's about an era when Mace Windu is not dead.
Yeah, it's I will say that Mace Windu is my favorite prequel era Jedi, right? My favorite Jedi period is Luke.
Of course.
Right under him would be Mace Windu.
Okay.
Just such an unqualified badass, mostly because Sam Jackson, but also he's a cool character. So this Mace Windu #1 released just a couple of days ago. So this is like hot off the press. And it's not terribly long, but as the new ones come out, we'll talk about them. So if you've not read this, we're going to spoil it, obviously. And then if this makes it to a standalone video, a big thanks to our buddy over at Star Wars Comics Story, which is a YouTube channel where you can go to read this for free. And you should go support him because he does a lot of thankless work to make sure everyone can read.
He's doing Star Wars Lord's work.
Yeah. So we open on the ocean moon of Devshi.
Okay.
I guess
no relation to the forest moon of Andor, apparently.
It's kind of like Camino, I guess.
Yeah.
So there's a storm raging. There's the surface of the ocean. There are waves and it's crashing around and shit, and there's rain falling all over the place. Mm-hmm. And there's a narrator that's like under the surface of this harsh fucking ocean. There is a secret now. Oh my god, don't do that because I'll start singing it in my head. So he's like under the ocean. There is a secret prison from which no one has ever escaped.
Okay.
Until today. Fucking Mace Windu erupts from the surface. Right? So he fucking erupts from the surface, gasping for air. And he finds this floating outpost. And he pulls himself out of the water and like right next to a vendor who's like selling shit, mm-hmm. And he climbs out, fucking dripping water all over the place. And Mace Windu looks at the guy. He's like, "Hi, did a group of droids come through here?" And the vendor just like kind of stares at him. He's like, "Did you just come out of the ocean?" And he's like, "Droids, like let's focus. Did you see him or not?" And he's like,
"Would you like a towel or something?"
And the vendor's like, "Yeah, I guess like a few of them came through here and stole a skiff. I think they were like from the prison that you probably just escaped from." And like Windu's like trying to wring water out of his robes and shit. And he's like, "Yeah, I need a boat and a captain." And he's like, "Well, I don't have a boat and I'm not a captain." And Mace Windu looks at him. He waves his hand. He's like, "You're a great captain and you'll find a boat somewhere." And the guy's like, "I'm a great captain and I'll find a boat somewhere." Next shot, they found the boat, right? They're on the boat.
This is already so good.
Yeah, they're on the boat, fucking high speed. The water's flipping up behind him and shit. Mace Windu is hanging off the front with his lightsaber out. Right?
We're like 2 pages in. This is already my favorite comic.
And he's like ready to go. They're chasing the droids on this other boat. Mm-hmm. And like he turns around, he's like, "Step on it. You fucking weak.
Go faster.
You weak-minded fuck." Like they're pulling away. And he's like, "My name is not weak-minded fuck. Also, you're an asshole." And he's like, "That's fair. What's your name?" And he's like, "It's Regump." He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna keep calling you a weak-minded fuck because that's a weird name. Keep the boat pointed at them and hold on." And the guy's like, "Why?" And Windu uses the Force to create like this big wave that gets him a boost and shit. And they get close enough to the boat, and Mace Windu just throws his lightsaber, and it like flies through the air, and it like damages a part of the engine on the other boat. All the steam like billows out and shit. And then the boat they're chasing is dead in the water. And so they board the skiff, and it's really cool because like one shot is just all the steam with a couple of like Mace Windu who's tall and this like other short little guy, and like just their silhouettes, and then they come through, and like Mace Windu looks like a badass, and the guy sitting next to him is like, "Is this safe?" And he's like, "No, you don't know who you're with, but
nothing about this is safe."
So they board the skiff, and they find all the droids who are just laying in a heap, right? Mm-hmm. And like the vendor like looks over at Mace Windu. He's like, "Jesus Christ, what did you say your name was?" And he's like, "Don't worry about it. The steam short circuited them. Like that was my whole thing. I wanted to make sure that the steam like got them in, because apparently droids aren't waterproof." And he's like, "These droids were supposed to be working the prison camp, but something or someone overrode their programming." And he starts like searching around like through the droids, and he picks up this small key, and he's like, and one of them was carrying a system-wide skeleton key that they should not have had. And he's like, "What is it for?" And he's like, "Don't worry about it. It's not what this story's about."
You're telling me a lot of things to not worry about that are making me more worried about these things.
Listen, weak-minded fuck. This is just the cold open. Okay? We'll never see you again.
It's a hell of a cold open.
So back on Coruscant, at the Jedi Temple, Mace Windu has returned after a successful mission. He finds Yoda meditating under the big tree in the courtyard, And Yoda's like, Master Windu, I brought you a couple of towels. I figured you might still be kind of soaked. And Wendy's like, I don't know why everyone says you're an asshole. I don't see it. Like, I don't get it. And Yoda's like, so your mission, son. He's like, yeah, the rogue droids have been restored. I put the skeleton key in the vault. And Yoda's like, great, I need to talk to you about something. And so they start walking through the halls of the temple, the temple. And Yoda's like, do you know what coaxium is? And he's like, yes. And Yoda's like, okay, asshole, I'm going to say what it is for the audience. You were supposed to say,
no, Master Yoda.
Or just say what it was. Now I'm going to say it. It's fuel. It's very unstable until it's refined. And Wendy's like, yeah, I know. I've seen Solo Star Wars story. Like, what's the point? And they get, do you remember that there's a scene in episode 3 where there's like that presentation room with the hologram and Obi-Wan's like, oh, Silicamai has fallen, Master Voss, blah, 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 blah. They're in that room. It's like a briefing room or whatever. And there's like a Jedi who's waiting for him, and Yoda points at her and he's like, go on, tell him. And so she turns on the holomap and she's like, this is Ro Mira, which is a moon in the Vergara system. It's mostly ice. There's a coaxium refinery there, and apparently someone has devised a new coaxium formula.
Okay.
And Windu's like, so we're going to go in and give them freedom and take the formula. And Yoda's like, Jesus, no, we're not America. Like, he's like, okay, so what the fuck does this have to do with the Jedi?
Somewhere in the background, a bald eagle sheds a single tear.
Right, yeah. So Windu's like, okay, but why? Okay, so why is the Jedi involved in this? And the other Jedi is like, it can boost sublight engines. My autocorrect, that's sunlight.
Yeah.
To 120% without like bursting into flame. And like, this is a technology we do not want getting in the hands of like pirates and thugs. And Yoda's like, basically, they'll be able to outrun us, and we won't know what to do.
Yeah, okay.
And so, Windu's like, okay, so I go to Romir and get the formula. And Yoda's like, no, someone already has it. And they display a picture of this woman. She's got like these locks, and she's got like goggles and shit on her forehead. And Windu's like, okay, I'm just gonna say she's hot, just so everyone knows. And the other Jedi is like, we don't know anything about her other than she's trying to trade the formula for money and transport off world.
And also, she's kind of hot.
Yeah. And we weren't the only ones she made the offer to. And so Windu's like, okay, so I go get her, give her a ride, and Yoda's like phrasing, and pay her, and you want me to finish quickly, and Yoda's like phrasing. And then Yoda's like, yeah, may the force be with you. Go on, get out of here. So Windu goes to get his starfighter, the Jedi, so those like cool, the ones before episode 3, like the bigger, chunkier ones. I like him better. So that other Jedi that was hanging out with him follows him, and he like gets into a starfighter, and she's like, okay, so where you're going can get kind of rough. Like, there's a lot of bad hombres over there. And he's like, who the fuck do you think you're talking to? Like, it'll be fine. And she's like, okay, well, I put a file on Cruz, the woman, on your droid. Go ahead and read about her, and like, don't underestimate her. Like, she's probably fucking crazy. Just putting that out there. And he's like, but she's hot. But we'll see how this goes. Yeah. So he takes off, he grabs a hyperspace ring, which is one of my favorite details about the ships, and flies to Romira. And like, he lands in an ice cave, and Windu tells R8, who's his droid, he's like, stay here with the ship, don't call me unless it's an emergency. So he follows a network of ice tunnels until he arrives at this entire underground city, right? Lots of lights and, you know. And he's like, okay, like he'd say, he stands in the street, he looks around, he doesn't see her. He's like, fuck, how am I going to do this? Because he can't interrogate the locals, right? Yeah. Because other people are looking for her for the same reason he is. So he finds the payphone, the Star Wars payphone, where she called the Jedi from, and he hacks it, and he gets the security cam footage. And he gets a good lead on like where she went, like which direction she went next, right? So he's like, all right, I'll go.
I've narrowed this down slightly.
Yeah,
I'll just leave it, walk in that direction.
Yeah, I'll retrace the steps, and you know, the Force will guide me. So as he's walking, like a gang of those bad hombres are just like hanging outside a bar, and the leader, I guess, who's at Trandoshion's like, hey, you look a little lost, like you need some help. And Mace Windu's like, just fuck right off.
Fuck off.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, look, you're clearly not from around here. And I'm thinking either you have a way to get out of this shithole or you have stuff I can sell to get out of this shithole. And Windu like takes a mighty breath. He's like, okay, you have.
So that's what what kind of day this is going to be.
You have no idea how bad this is going to turn out for you if you don't just start fucking off immediately. And so you think that this is going to like go toward a fight, right? But these guys like look at him and they kind of realize that he's not the easy target that they're looking for, because they're starting to notice how tall he is
and how bald he is, and how he's glaring,
kind of a badass. And they're like, you know what? We'll just
what? Maybe you have a point. We'll just fuck up.
I think in the comic, actually, he tells him exactly what he's going to do. He's like, you're going to rush in and hit me with this. I'm going to stick it up your ass, and then you're going to come over here.
And then I'm going to break his leg, and then
they're like, well, we'll see ourselves out.
Yeah.
Have a nice day, sir. So he's walking, and he passes a hospital, right? Mm-hmm. And he like has a thought, like a light bulb. Boom. And so he goes into the hospital, and he's like, hey, I'm looking for a woman. She had an accident and probably has memory loss, so she couldn't give you her name. And the receptionist like never heard of her. And Windu is like, okay, I'll pay you a ridiculous amount of money. And she's like, right down the hall. I was like, thank you. Glad this works.
Public credits?
Right, yeah. So he goes down the hall, and there's a commotion. There's this group of guys that are looking for her too, right? And like they had just been in her room, and now they're like running out. And he's like, the fuck? So he goes into the room. The room's empty. Mm-hmm. Window's open.
Fuck.
He looks out of the window, and he sees the woman hoisting herself down with the tied bed sheets. Right?
Classic.
He's like, what the fuck are you doing? And she's like, who the fuck are you? And he's like, what?
Did you not see the fucking cover page on Mace fucking Windu?
Yeah. And she lands on the ground and just bolts, right? And so Mace Windu is like, okay, fine. I'll chase you. So he leaps out the window, fucking lands on his feet like a badass, takes chase. So there's this good chase through the street. So the other guys they're looking for are on a land speeder, and they're chasing her. And like one of them is going to shoot her, and the other guy's like, you fucking idiot. Do you know what she's carrying? Like, that's like super refined coaxium or whatever the fuck. And like, you could kill everybody. And like, she's got this rig in her backpack where like, do you remember that episode of Mandalorian where they've got the trucks? They're trying not to agitate, and they got the little light thing that tells them if they're bumping too hard. Mm-hmm. She's got one of those on her backpack, pretty much, right? He's like, don't shoot her, you fucking idiot. Like, we need that. And so she's running through the streets, and she goes down some alleys, and she like loses the other guys in their land speeder, and she slips into an empty building to catch her breath, right? So she's like, okay. So she pulls her backpack off, and she's like, okay, the light's back to normal. Everything's fine. Good. I'll stay a step ahead. Just make sure.
No one has found me.
Yeah, I like play it smart. Fucking land speeder barrels through the wall right where she is, right? They just
son of a bitch.
They don't stop and get out. They just crash through the wall, right? And so like they all hop out, and they got their guns and shit, and they surround her. And like they hear a voice behind them. It's like, drop the blasters and fuck off. And they turn, and Mace Windu is just standing there, and they're like, "Now we're just gonna shoot you." And he's like, "Okay,
good luck.
I've been waiting for this all day." And so they all fucking open fire, and it's kind of dark in there. Fucking all Cruz sees is this purple beam of light all over the place. A few seconds later, everyone falls over, and he's just standing there with his lightsaber, and he's like, "Look, you call the Jedi have answered. Let's get the fuck out of here." And that's the end of the comic. It's pretty good. I'm wondering if the skeleton key thing comes back at some point. The art, I will mention,
that would be good writing.
Yeah, I will mention the art is neat. The color palettes they use, like everything, because it's like an ice world, everything is like kind of white and blue. Mm-hmm. So when the purple lightsaber comes out of nowhere, you're like, oh, that's actually really fucking cool. So it's a cool thing. If you've not read it, go to Star Wars Comics Story, check it out. It'll be kind of cool. We're gonna go play some video games. Let me make sure I haven't missed any
messages.
I have to just Elon Musk is trying to do a corporate takeover of Disney. Well, I know he like kind of hinted that he's going to buy it. I don't know if he has enough money to buy it.
Not after what he's done with Twitter.
I don't know. He is ridiculously rich, but he's also an idiot. So who knows? Disney removed all advertising from X. Elon's motivations are pretty clear to me. Elon is the Kanye West of the business world. Well, no, that's not true, because say what you will about Kanye, he's a brilliant musician. Mm-hmm. Like, no one, I don't think anyone could ever say with any real authority that like he doesn't like that he's not kind of a genius where music is concerned. And I don't even particularly like that genre of music. So I think Elon Musk is just the Elon Musk of the business world, which is a fucking idiot.
He's a fail son who started with way too much money and failed until
that was given to him.
Yes.
Yeah.
He failed until he found the one thing that didn't fail, and then he failed a whole bunch more.
Yeah. And then like when the smart people around him fix it, he takes credit for it.
Yeah.
Right. It's the Sith versus the Infinite Empire. No good guys. Oh yeah. Chris says, I have studied World War II as a historian for many years, and I find Gina's comments to be hugely offensive after personally seeing several Holocaust museums across Europe. Yeah. We when I was a kid, when I was really young, our class, like a Holocaust survivor came and spoke to our class and talked about just the horrific things that they personally witnessed. Mm-hmm. And that's hard shit to hear as I was that age.
Hard shit for anyone to hear, honestly.
Yeah. And I just remember being like, that happened on our planet under someone's watch. Mm-hmm. That's insane that we live in a world where something like that could happen. And to compare that to being in any particular political party is just obscene and asinine. I just fucking hate it. All right, we're gonna go play some Star Wars or Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga here in just a couple minutes. So please join us. We'll talk more about whatever. We won't have Gremlin Squad with us, and we won't be like doing super fast-paced multiplayer.
Yeah, we're just gonna fuck around.
We'll just be fucking around a little bit. So join us then. We hope to see you. Thanks for the comments and the support. We love you guys.
Bye.
Hold on.
What?
Look for the official version of the podcast on Wednesday on our YouTube channel. Join us on Discord, Facebook Live, Twitch. What's the other one?
YouTube.
Now you can say bye.
Bye.
Bye.